All right, if you're anything like me, you didn't get any kind of work done today because you had Shams and Woj notifications going off every 5 seconds about a new trade that was happening at the deadline. The big headlines, obviously, Kevin Durant is headed to the Phoenix Suns. Also, Kyrie Irving is going to the Mavs to pair with Luka Doncic. Some other trades. Russell Westbrook is on his way to the Jazz. Probably going to get bought out because he doesn't want to play there. The Jazz don't really have a need for Russell Westbrook, so keep an eye on Russ. He's probably going to be on the move in the buyout market. Um, those are the big names. There are a few others that we'll cover, like D'Angelo Russell going to the Lakers, Pat Bev's going to the Magic. John Wall got sent back to the Rockets after just trashing them on a podcast and forcing his way out of there, and they're like, nope, you're going back to the Rockets. That sucks. All right, so let's get into some winners and losers of the trade deadline. So the obvious winner is the Phoenix Suns. They have Kevin Durant. You get to pair him with Devin Booker and CP3, and DeAndre Ayton has been playing very well as of late. Suns have the best chance of winning a title that they've had probably ever. On to the losing side, the Golden State Warriors. They essentially undid some mistakes that they made in the previous offseason. So they got back Gary Payton II, who was a key contributor to their title run last year. Great defender, versatile player, very athletic. And they got rid of James Wiseman. The James Wiseman experiment is over, and they didn't really get a whole lot for him. And they got rid of 5 second-round picks to do so. The Warriors needed a solid big. They didn't get that. They lost a potentially solid big, but Wiseman wasn't getting minutes. The experiment is they were done with it. I just feel like the Warriors fumbled this trade deadline pretty badly. Winner and the biggest move makers of the trade deadline by far are the Los Angeles Lakers. Lots and lots of moves. So they gained D'Angelo Russell, acquired sharpshooter Malik Beasley, rebounding machine Jared Vanderbilt. I don't really know what Devon Reed does, but they got Mo Bamba as well, who's a shot blocker, and he can stretch the floor a little bit better than Thomas Bryant can. They got Russell Westbrook off the books. That was kind of the writing was on the wall there for a very long time. Got rid of Toscano Anderson, who wasn't really in the rotation. Damian Jones as well. Thomas Bryant was showing some flashes, but he's been asking for increased minutes with Anthony Davis returning back to the lineup. And they got rid of Patrick Beverley, who obviously brings a lot of toughness, but not a whole lot else. Big day for the Lakers, who don't go into the upper echelon of contention at all. You don't go from being a bad team to being a contender by adding a bunch of good but not great players. But I do think they will make the playoffs. And when you have LeBron James and hopefully a healthy Anthony Davis, that means you have a chance. So now I have a couple small winners and losers. A small win out east, if you notice, a lot of these moves were Western Conference teams. Not a whole lot of movement on the Eastern Front. But the Milwaukee Bucks were able to acquire Jay Crowder, who was sitting out the entire season on the Suns' books. Like I said, with not a lot of movement going on, even a small addition like a solid rotation player like Jay Crowder who can start, he can come off the bench, he can space the floor. That could be a needle mover in such a tight Eastern Conference race. So they only got the Bucks only got rid of guys who were not in the rotation at all. So I think this can only be a positive for the Bucks. And then a small loser are the Denver Nuggets. So they got Thomas Bryant, who, like I said, wants a bigger role, but I feel like his role will be smaller now that he's backing up Nikola Jokic, the reigning two-time, probably soon to be three-time MVP. And they got rid of Bones Highland for only 2 second-round picks. I have not been watching a lot of Nuggets games, but I feel like that return could have been a lot higher. Now, there are 3 teams out east. I mentioned how all the moves are being made in the West. There are 3 teams out east that I'm extremely disappointed in because so many teams were waiting for these guys to do something which would then send a ripple effect into the rest of the league, but those obviously didn't happen. The first team is the Chicago Bulls. What are they doing? Nothing. They're staying there in purgatory, not winning, but also not being terrible. They're just like stuck just outside of the play-in tournament. Not a good place to be in. The Miami Heat, there have been a lot of question marks around the Miami Heat and their future right now. I was expecting them to be buyers at least, and they didn't do anything. The Miami Heat have stayed put, and I feel like their ceiling is a first round exit. Toronto Raptors as well. This was a big team. This was the team that was probably the most disappointing to me in that they literally did nothing. People were looking at Siakam. People were looking at OG Anunoby, or the asking price for OG Anunoby was way too many first-round picks. I thought that was just a negotiating tactic, but he would eventually get moved, but he didn't. Teams were looking at Fred VanVleet. Raptors said we're good, but they didn't like the offers they were getting, I guess. And then the last real clear loser are the Brooklyn Nets for pretty obvious reasons. So the KD and Kyrie situation, it was a failure. The Brooklyn Nets were the greatest theoretical team of all time, but now they are left with a bunch of assets and a whole lot of role players and pretty good young players. But they have no real core building block players yet, meaning that their team is relatively directionless until they get a strike hot in the draft, or they flip some of those assets until they actually materialize into something. But as for now, they just have a really deep roster with pretty good players. So they'll still make the playoffs, but they are first round exit team. RIP to the Nets. All right, how much time was that? That's not too bad. Okay, so that's a quick little recap of the trade deadline. It was crazy. I'm still kind of getting caught up myself. Hopefully this was informative. Feel free to leave all your comments and opinions down low. Did your team do what they needed to do? My team, the 76ers, they didn't do a whole lot. They flipped Matisse Thybulle for Jalen McDaniels of the Charlotte Hornets. Relatively lateral move, not a real needle mover. So that's why I didn't include a lot of these deals. Like y'all don't want to hear about that, So leave all your thoughts. Holla at me in the comments section. Leave a like too. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.